This video is going to be a film study look at Anthony Richardson's performance in week 3 of the preseason. Received a lot of attention, some good, some bad. He certainly struggled after the opening drive against the Bengals in Thursday night's preseason finale. For me, it was very interesting and at times confusing series of plays. I have a couple of explanations for some of the things we saw. I don't think they'll necessarily be the most technical explanations you've heard. The first drive, look, the Colts offense went up and down the field. Granted, it was on Cincinnati's second string defense. I think in that instance, the first possession, Richardson was 7 of 8 passing on the drive. A lot of his passes were to his left. I do suspect there's two different things going on with his delivery. I guess his timing, depending on the location of the field. We'll get to that a little later in the video when we show the film. He ended that first drive with a really simple touchdown pass to Adonai Mitchell on a mesh concept. I think it capped a 10 or 12 play drive, 80 yards. Thought he looked impressive to that point. Although the play before that, the touchdown pass was a missed touchdown to the tight end Drew Ogletree in the end zone. It was high. It was a high throw to his left. Keep that in mind for later. Anyway, things went in a different direction after that. Off-touch passes, some inaccuracy, ended with a turnover, pick six that is, and nearly another on a fumble. There is a Colts Twitter account, X account that I follow that does great work, and I want to recommend, if you don't follow it already, that shows play concepts and how they're executed in Shane Steichen's offense. It's called Colts Film Room. I'll link the account in the description here. They have more consistent content focused on Indianapolis Colts offense and defense, and Richardson specifically, than I will. It really, if you look at it in totality, is a perplexing situation for the 4 possessions. You got the touchdown drive, demonstrated full control, Richardson and the play caller. And then there's some basic concepts in there, don't get me wrong. Then the pick six, a miscommunication. Also, I think perhaps a lack of preparedness on the offensive staff side, and I'll explain that in a little bit. 2 missed throws on the third series that are glaring, a strip sack on the fourth. I think he's got an opportunity to throw the ball there. I do want to address one thing that Kirk Herbstreit apparently said during the game. I was able to finally rewatch it here Friday night. Said that Flacco, there could be a quarterback controversy because of Flacco. Of course, I get it. Flacco had an impact in 2023 with the Browns. After Deshaun Watson went out for the year, Flacco got them to the playoffs. Lots of interceptions at times and turnovers, but also really big plays in the pass game. Aggressive down the field. I will discuss later on, for those of you that are interested in the film study portion of it, the film breakdown, I will discuss what you're getting in Joe Flacco. And I'm a Ravens content creator, so I can tell you, and I'll tell you a story from an early in Lamar Jackson's career about how Joe Flacco handled adversity, helped Lamar Jackson handle it. And so just so you know what you're getting. But we'll get to the film first, and I'll save that anecdotal story until the end. So we'll go through play-by-play here on the first drive and talk about some of the concepts and the throws. And I'll give you some theories that I have on Richardson throwing to certain parts of the field. It'll be less technical than probably some of the explanations that you've read so far. I think throwing to his right, he's trying to release the ball in a soft manner. I think he's trying to take something off of it. There doesn't seem to be as much directional strength or push when he's throwing to his right. Now, look, this is a small sample size that I'm talking about, so it's okay with me if you come back on a comment and say, hey, this doesn't line up with 50 or 60 or 80 throws that I saw from him for last year. I did kind of mention it in the film study video I did of him in the offseason. I'll link that up so you guys can see it. This is his first play. It's an over concept. Alec Pierce, left to right, and I think what you're seeing is the ball being kind of flung out there and not really anything behind it from a lower body standpoint. He's got a great arm. It's a catch, but I think this ball could be out here a little further such that it allows Alec Pierce to run onto it. But there's also times where you never know if a quarterback is intentionally trying to take something off of it to prevent him from running into a defensive back. I don't think that's exactly what's happening here, but occasionally you will see that dynamic occur. In any case, it goes down as an 18-yard gain. Certainly a positive play for the Colts. I think it's a great job by the right tackle here. Little zone concept to the left. Taylor downhill. I'm not sure about you. I'm looking forward to seeing Jonathan Taylor completely healthy and dominant again in this offense. I think the last 4 years he's averaged about 75 yards per game, when healthy and playing, except for that one brilliant season when he averaged like 105 5 yards per game or something like that. Great job, I think, by the right tackle, 72, working up to the defensive tackle, allowing 75 to get to the inside linebacker level. Happens to be a nickel blitz off the edge. Again, it's Bengals second stringers. Little screen here, and I do want to spend a moment talking about this formation and what the Bengals are doing because it relates to the interception that you see later. So you've got Pro Twins A, a favorite formation of the Colts under Steichen. Probably mispronounced his name once or twice. Forgive me. You got the tight end, running back on that side, ball on the right hash into the boundary. Boundary side safety spinning down. Field side safety rolling to center field. Pretty much playing man, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it man match, I don't care. You got man up to the top side. Screen to the tight end down here to the boundary. Ends up being a loss of 4. The boundary side safety plays no role in this. I'm showing it to you, though, because the pick 6 on the second possession is the same exact formation, and the safety drops down now in a slightly different manner, which could complicate things, and it also speaks to how coordinated Lou Anarumo's defense is and how brilliant he is at times. So the second time you see this, which will be the interception on the second possession, the inside linebacker pushes out to the flats, and this safety inserts into the hook area, but you also get a route run by the tight end. Here you don't. The tight end down blocks, making it look like a run play. And then it ends up being a Y screen or Y delay screen into the boundary. So there's some variables here in how the inside linebacker and the boundary side safety react on that play versus on the pick 6 here in a couple of moments. Same play, end zone angle. Nothing really to say about Richardson there. 3rd and 10. Hot to Pierce up at the top side. I'm not sure how you can ask 45 to be on the opposite side of the formation and deal with 2 or 3. Totally out-leveraged here from a defensive standpoint. I understand you're in a mug look, trying to create pressure, force Richardson to get rid of the ball quick. In this case, him and Pierce adjust it quickly. Goes down 13 or 14 yards. Quick, easy recognition. So it's not all just schemed up plays on the first drive. That's the point I'm trying to make here talking about this one. Yeah, the first over concept is, and a couple of these other ones you'll see in a moment, but a nice little adjustment there, not side adjustment, but nice little adjustment post-snap by Richardson and the receiver. RPO from the boundary to Pittman for 12. Same formation that we're talking about. Boundary side safety is playing a role. So that's the boundary side safety. Here's the field side safety, middle of the field. Nickel defender, outside corner. So Pro Twins A is the same formation as the Y screen that I showed you a moment ago, the loss of 4, and then the pick 6 on the second possession. So you have, from a coaching standpoint, two plays on the first possession where this formation, they're rolling the boundary side safety down. I feel like Anthony Richardson should have been and maybe was prepped for the boundary side safety to spin down on that pick 6, which, is obviously an inaccurate throw as well. I think I gave you the end zone angle of this one. My apologies. Thought it was good ball handling by Richardson. He's a little upright on that one. This one's obviously schemed up. Just whipping it out here real quick to the flats. Ensuing play is a 1st and 10, 11 personnel bunch A. So you've got a little play fake to the running back, and the Bengals are outnumbered out here again, somewhat similar to that 3rd down. Although, a different look by the defensive front, not a mug look, but they're outnumbered here. It's 3 versus 2. I mean, this is easy. This is stealing money. You do have inside leverage defenders running inside out, but they're way too far distended from the bunch. Goes down for 9 yards to Mitchell. Talented dude. Can't wait to see him play. Not against the Ravens. All right, so now we got a 2nd and 1, and I really like the patience here. There's not much there at all, obviously. You've got Michael Pittman running this kind of pseudo-over concept from the right-hand side. And he's going to get picked up underneath by one of the inside linebackers. And then additional to that, there's going to end up being a DB 43 who's in like a cover 2 alignment. He's going to sink. And so he would play a part in that window as well. If this, for a moment, let's say that this guy is not here, then theoretically you could try to throw this ball out in front of Pittman because you've got an occupied safety there by the route running up this left sideline. But I like the patience to go to Jonathan Taylor up to the top side. Ends up being an 8-yard gain. Nothing wrong with getting him the football. It's 12 personnel, play action. Feet almost cross over at one point. It looked like for an instant Richardson was thinking about going somewhere with the football. Not sure where he'd be going with the ball. I mean, if you're going to go up top there, up the left sideline, that safety's in position. Pulls it down, thinks better of it, gets it out to Taylor, 8 yards. Another set of downs, 1st and 10. Pro Twins A. So same formation that we've talked about a couple of times already. Tight end, running back into the boundary. Ball on the left hash, so short side of the field is up here, the boundary. Boundary side safety not rolled down, and you get a run play. Makes sense. There's no numerical advantage there for the Bengals. In fact, the numerical advantage is in the favor of the Colts, is particularly inside C-gap. The boundary side edge defender, Pro Twins A, out of nickel, 11 personnel, is put in tremendous conflict. He goes inside to C-gap, then who's the force player outside the tight end? He stays outside and, quote, forces the edge, then who handles C-gap inside? Kind of typical. Perhaps a little RPO bubble down here, potentially to 10. Maybe he's reading it. I mean, it certainly looks like you got an unblocked defender here. Tight end also could be reading. It could be a dual read. Ends up being a kick-out block. Give to Taylor, 1 yard. Taylor gets this one. Trips A. So tight end, running back, same side. Ball's in the middle of the field, though. And credit to the Bengals for recognizing this. They keep safety and corner to the backside in the event that Richardson keeps this and then tries to get out to the outside, to the bottom side of our screen, to the offense's right, defense's left. So they've got somebody for the give, obviously, and then they've got somebody for the keep. There is no pitch man on this particular option play. Missed touchdown to Ogletree, the tight end. It's the same formation briefly. Pro Twins A. So were they not to motion? Here's the boundary side safety we've been talking about. Ball on the left hash. Boundaries up here. You got tight end running back into the boundary. Boundary side safety has not rolled down. When you get motion across, corner goes with him, so you pretty much know what you got. You got man. A chip, the running back releasing into the backfield, and I think this should be a touchdown. I mean, this ball, I think when he's throwing to his left, here's my theory right now, and I don't have a technical explanation for it necessarily. Like I said, Colts film room or other people that are, experienced quarterbacks or quarterback evaluators give you a more technical explanation. When he's to his left, I think he lets it rip. When he's throwing it to his left, it looks like he lets it rip. He's more confident in the pace / accuracy, and it ends up being high sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, because he's letting it rip. I think you see that, in this film through this 4 possessions. Does that show up across his throws from last year and his throws from earlier in the preseason this year? I'm not sure. Pro Twins A again on a 2nd and 9, and they got mesh. Bengals bringing this nickel blitz, which is very commonly used by Lou Anarumo. These guys do a pretty good job picking up the nickel blitz. There's a free rusher up to the top side. Richardson gets rid of it quick. Mitchell sneaks into the end zone. First career touchdown. A touchdown was certainly quite easy. A short throw over the middle. There was pressure from the top side. No pressure here. This is the interception, the pick 6 by Jordan Battle. So as Pro Twins A, once the running back flips sides, you know that the boundary side safety has spun down at least twice, if not 3 times earlier on the same formation. So pre-snap, when the play is being called for Anthony Richardson in the headset, there should be some communication. Hey, the boundary side safety has moved down plenty of times. Whatever their terminology is, whatever their verbiage is, to communicate that to each other quickly, because you got to get the play call into him in a quick fashion, and you can't overload the quarterback, especially a young guy like Anthony Richardson. My point is the boundary side safety had to be a part of the discussion here, number one. Number two, this route here, I can tell you from the Ravens facing the Colts last year. Of course, Anthony Richardson didn't play. They hit that route last year at least twice in Baltimore in week 3, just throwing it out there to the boundary, forcing the boundary side inside linebacker to expand. I think this is, probably just a pre-snap cover 3 variation, dropping the safety down to the boundary. call it cover three match, whatever you want to call it. But the Lou Anarumo and those guys do this all the time. You certainly have man here, just like you had on the first iteration of Pro Twins A that I showed you on the first possession. But you got 4 underneath droppers, deep corners or corners that are playing man basically, and then middle of the field safety. So whatever you want to call it, you've got a safety dropping down to take over the hook area and the inside linebacker pushing the flats. So if you throw this 5, 6, 7 yards at most, because you got a linebacker in chase who will probably make that tackle. As far as the throw goes, to his right, I don't think he's putting much on the ball. Kind of what I was talking about on the missed throw to Ogletree. Excuse me. Let's get the end zone angle. Missed throw to Ogletree is to his left. He's really putting something on the ball. To his right, he's not. It's almost like throwing a dart to his right. And I don't, the technical explanation of that, the short throwing motion, which you have seen with him plenty of times, it doesn't seem like his platform from here down is great when throwing to his right because there's not as much movement here. Now, it's a very short throw, so and with a great arm like he has, you don't need as much on it. But if you reflect back to the first throw that I showed you to Alec Pierce, he did the same thing. There was nothing in that direction at all. He's a right-handed quarterback, and multiple quarterbacks that I've seen are a little bit less accurate throwing deep to the right, but this is not a deep throw. It's an inaccurate throw, number one. Number two, he, for whatever reason, is thinking 83 is going to sit right down here, not, for whatever reason, eyes not on that boundary side safety. He must have went boundary side inside linebacker to the flats. Let me take this now. And to not be aware of this either means that his coach didn't say anything in the helmet pre-snap and when giving him the play call, or he heard it and just didn't think about it at all. Should have been a more careful throw. It's obviously quite inaccurate. Now there appears to have been some miscommunication, so I'm quite sure that they talked about it in press conferences. I don't get the time to watch that. Again, refer to Colts film study and other people with a more technical explanation of his throwing and whatever you want to call it as far as a read for the tight end. Moving forward, third possession, and we'll focus on the throws here. Unfortunately, most of them are inaccurate, or in this case, it's a drop. And I know multiple people have talked about Michael Pittman. Hey, you got to catch that ball. Yeah, of course he can catch. You can catch this football. You're an NFL wide receiver. There's no one near you. I get it. At times, the quarterback's trying to throw it low to protect you. I don't think this is one of those situations. When you watch Richardson throw this ball, he reminds me of, in this particular case, he reminds me of catchers who've had the yips. And if you don't know what that is, it's like you can't throw the ball back to the pitcher. They do that millions of times. Obviously, you would expect it will be automatic. It looks like he's hoping for this ball to be where it should be. And when you get the end zone angle, you'll see what I mean. I think it's extremely low. Nonetheless, Pittman could catch it, absolutely. Ball's got to be about 2 foot higher at least to get Pittman in stride, so he can run onto it. I think what you've got here is you've made an easy throw, an easy situation, way more difficult for Pittman, who's a high-level professional receiver. You're going to see this stuff again, these RPO-type looks or play action, which is not the same thing as an RPO. It's called by the coach, but to look like an RPO, hold the defense for longer, and that's a gimme that has to be converted. Same possession, 3rd and 6. Another throw. This one's to his left, however. So notice the difference in where the misses are, for me at least. I feel like throwing to his left is generally high. Still not stepping into this throw much at all. Comes out of his hand. Quite weird if you ask me. I'm not sure if I give you the end zone angle on this one, but man, missed opportunity. 3rd and 6. You got all this field for Mitchell to run onto. And look, I like Anthony Richardson. I think he's got a lot of talent and a lot of ability. You saw it in some of those throws on the first possession. But you've got another clear miss here. Not particularly similar to the miss on the tight end in the end zone from a pace standpoint in terms of what's put on the ball, but from a ball location discussion, pretty much in the same place as where the tight end's throw was high. And that one's really high. You're talking about 1.5 yards to maybe 2 yards. That again, I think this is easy. This is not something that's a tremendously difficult throw in an NFL paradigm in terms of you look at all the throws a quarterback's going to have to make across the season. that one is not one of the more difficult ones you'll see. Fourth possession, 3rd and 13. Perhaps some type of miscommunication here with him and Mitchell over the middle. It looks like man to me out of trips. So here's Mitchell. And he's kind of got the outside position. This DB jumped to the inside. Maybe he was doing that by scheme. Maybe he was doing that because of the release by Mitchell. But nonetheless, he ends up behind. And Richardson is throwing this ball into the open space, I think, correctly, based on the read. Mitchell is seeing the DB stacked behind him. So hesitates for a moment. I'm not sure if I give you the end zone angle. Is this ball located where it should be? Seems like it to me. Seems like Richardson is seeing it properly. It certainly looks bad when you just watch it live if you don't rewatch the routes again. I've been, critical of a couple of the throws. In a general sense, I think I have reasons. I think he's pushing the ball, floating the ball out there over the middle, and it gets worse the further you go to his right. To the left, I think he's putting something on the ball generally, and that's why you're getting the ball up high, although the third down miss to Mitchell, the 3rd and 6 on the third possession, doesn't necessarily fit with that evaluation. Here's the same play from the end zone angle, and for to be looking to his right initially and then coming back here, seeing the open space, I think he's got good eyes on this. I think Mitchell and him just read it differently after Mitchell had one to the outside off the jump, off his release. 5th possession now, and you're going to get a really sick throw up the left seam. Bengals are playing the same coverage, or somewhat similar conceptually to what they played multiple times against 2x2 sets early on. So the boundary side safety, even though the ball's in the middle of the field, this is the nickel defender. So I will oftentimes refer to boundary, even though the ball's in the middle of the field, because this is a guy opposite the nickel. He's going to sit on the hash. This inside linebacker is going to push the flats. Basically, you have a drop or country cover 3 with the safety dropping down on the hash, and he rips this one. Left hash, 283, I think the tight end. There is no hesitation in terms of pushing or in terms of just leaving the throw out there and kind of hoping that it ends up where it is. He rips this one in there. Corner is trying to play in cover 3. If you get 2 verticals, trying to play this kind of like divider technique where you're in between 1 and 2, meaning if you get 2 verticals here, let's say you get 4 verticals, cover 3 killer, supposedly, but if your corners can play divider technique between the 2 verticals, not exactly dividing them in half, but if they can play between them and break on the ball, you can at least challenge the throw, and you can see that I think it's 42 or 43 actually does that here. The only reason he doesn't get a pass deflected is because Anthony Richardson puts some real mustard on the football because he's got a really good arm. Short, quick delivery. A little bit more of a finish, I think, towards the receiver. Maybe I'm just seeing that because I want to, because it's to his left. And my general theory is that he put more on the ball to his left. I think he needs to throw 2-to-1 ratio to his right in drills and in practice. He's a right-handed quarterback. It's a little bit tougher to get everything oriented, in this direction when you're throwing the football. And he seems to almost I don't want to say sidearm it. He seems to almost not be as consistent with his release to his right as opposed to his left, even the throws to his left are high as well. And then this one, you got dual concepts on the bottom and the top side. In routes by 1 and 2 kind of running this smash, we call smash in. I think you have an opportunity to throw the football here. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be completed because this corner is sinking and he's going to get in the window here. But you don't have another read. There's no other read to come back to if you're not going to check it down here immediately. And that's my point here in talking about and being critical of this particular play. I think you've got 2 choices here. 3, but eliminating this for a moment. Choice number 1, choice number 2, I guess choice 3 would be throw to 1, but throw the damn thing out of bounds. Not such that it's a penalty. You got a clean pocket. You got time to deliver it. There is no other read here to the top side. That's why he's not looking to the other side. He knows that he's picked this side. Again, you got mirrored concept here. So if he had picked the top side, he'd be pretty much looking at the same thing as far as route standpoint and coverage. So I understand you'll say, well, coach, so this is not open down here. Fine. If you want to throw the thing on the corner route, but throw it such that it's maybe your receiver can get a hand on it, but it won't be intercepted, then that's fine with me too. Or just check the ball down to the running back. It's 1st and 10. Live another day. Deal with 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 6. End zone angles, same play. It ends up being a forced fumble. So a lot of very critical people of Anthony Richardson, and certainly there were issues. I think at the NFL level, things happen super fast, and for whatever reason, after that first possession, things went downhill really quickly. I don't think that the interception is an accurate throw necessarily from where you want it to be based on the coverage, especially given that the boundary side safety had been spinning down or walking down so often. It makes me wonder what was said to him in the headset pre-snap, what he was prepared for walking out on the field, what the communication was between series. Hey, we went Pro Twins A 3 times or maybe 4 on that first possession. Be prepared for this. And so we're going to call that to exploit it. I didn't see that evidence, to be honest with you, in that play call backed up against our own goal line. So that's my film study for Anthony Richardson for week 3 of the preseason. I'm rooting for him to improve, show more consistency. I'm sure that they'll work on some of the technical aspects of his throwing, his delivery, his base and stuff. In terms of what I mentioned earlier about Herb Street bringing up the issue of a quarterback controversy, there is none unless Anthony Richardson plays extremely poorly for probably 10, 12, 14 quarters in a row. I don't see that happening. Too much talent, too much professional level, astute and prepared play calling from his head coach and the offensive staff. But I want to tell you something that I know about Joe Flacco, and you may know it already as a Colts fan. Something he said during the midst of Lamar Jackson's first playoff loss, his rookie year. Lamar took over for Flacco, who was injured late in the season. Struggling Ravens team, goes 6-1 as a starter, gets him in the playoffs with a very unbalanced offense, run heavy, extremely run heavy. Through 3 quarters of a playoff game against the Chargers, Lamar has like 9 yards passing, maybe 12. Home crowd is hollering for Flacco, and hey, you can't blame him on some level. In case you don't know, to that point, Flacco had like 24 career playoff touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He'd gone into Foxborough, beat Tom Brady twice in Brady's heyday. Should have beat him 3 times, but not for a dropped TD pass or great play by the DB the year before, 2011, in the AFC Championship game. The Ravens missed the ensuing game-tying field goal that would have forced overtime. A year later, they go up 2022 AFC Championship game and beat the Patriots' ass, quite handily. You can understand they win a Super Bowl that year as well. You can understand why in a playoff situation with a 20-year-old rookie quarterback struggling, playing poor through 3 quarters. I'm talking about Lamar. The crowd in Baltimore will be hollering for Flacco to get on the field. They knew he was capable. What he said to Lamar in that moment tells you how he's going to handle this situation with Anthony Richardson, and I think be a huge asset. So as a Colts fan, I think this should give you some confidence in who Flacco is, and also how he can impart certain lessons to Anthony Richardson. Apparently what Flacco said to Lamar at the end of the 3rd quarter, and the Ravens did make a comeback. Lamar played his butt off in the 4th quarter. We lost 23-17. Apparently Flacco said, look, finish strong. At some point, you're going to be proud of how you finish this game no matter what happens. This is a part of it. This is the process that you go through. Dealing with this situation right now, but it's still a game. And I think Lamar has even mentioned this moment and what Flacco said in terms of handling yourself and trying to handle the situation. And I think for the crowd to be chanting Flacco's name in that moment, in the middle of a playoff game that the Ravens are losing, playing horrible on offense, Lamar's a huge part of that. For Flacco to go up and do that, I think tells you the quality of person that you've got there and the quality of professional athlete. And I think he'll treat Anthony Richardson the same way. I think in the long run, it'll probably be a really good thing for Anthony Richardson. So I like the support that they've got there for him. He's got to access some of the training and some of the adjustments for technique that maybe we've talked about a little bit here. In any case, if you guys listen this long, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you think other Colts fans or football fans in general would enjoy this film study look at Anthony Richardson, which at this point has been widely talked about and evaluated, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.